If your idea of a productive training session or program, still in 2023, is how sick of a pump you get, how much volume you're doing, and the fact that it needs to be a shit ton, panting, sweating, and calling that high intensity, or if you think getting sore is the best indication of a productive workout. If any of those things describe you, I got bad news and I got good news. Bad news, you're already fucking up big time. You're already on track to hit every mistake on this list. But the good news is I have your fix for you in this video. So let's go ahead and dive into what those look like. The first thing, too much volume and low intensity. If I could just fucking hit my head on this whiteboard a few more times, because that's what I was doing for a minimum 10 years to start, maybe even 12 years. All right. It wasn't until recently that even myself, I was probably doing too much volume, wasn't pushing at the high enough intensity that you should be pushing at if you want to be as productive as possible, get the most out of the least. The whole purpose of evolution, of science, of optimization over time as human beings, the reason society is what it is, the reason you're able to watch what I'm talking about through this incredible camera on this incredible platform is because we have optimized things over time so we get more out of less effort. And the gym is the same thing. The more we understand how this works, the whole purpose of the field is so we can maximize results, minimize fatigue, improve recovery, and all these other factors, minimize risk of injury for maximum performance and output. And that starts with ditching this fucking mindset. Again, this one was a tough one for me to ditch. Mainly, you can blame whatever you want to blame. It doesn't really matter who or what you blame. It could be the pro bodybuilders, that a ton of them still do it. Being on performance-enhancing drugs definitely will help you get away with such things. But it could just be a lack of understanding that more is not better, and it's glorified that more is better. That the more work you put in, the harder work you are, you're better than everybody else, you hustle harder, you grind harder, and this is some sort of a status. They think, well, I'm the hardest worker in the room. It's like, does that really fucking matter if your results are suboptimal? I don't know, you tell me. So here's the fix. My recommendation has been, since really understanding and ditching this mindset, that clearly 3 to 10 sets taken to 0 RIR up to 2 RIR, meaning 2 reps shy of failure, 1 rep shy of failure, or all out task failure is probably a good place to start. And from there, if need be, if over the course of a mesocycle or 2, you start to realize, hey, you know what? I am feeling good from this. I'm seeing some progress. I want to see if a tiny bit of volume could get me a little bit faster progress. And that is a very fair thing to think. But approaching it from the inverse, which is what most people do, like just hammer the volume until I can't fucking... I used to look forward to not being able to sit on the toilet the next day because I thought that that means, yes, my legs are growing as fast as they possibly can. Only to find out all these years later, it was the opposite. So don't be like me. The recommendation to start all of your muscle groups somewhere within 3 to 10 sets for the entire week, taken very close to failure. And we're going to get a little bit deeper as to why that's just a good idea. And that's going to be the next point. Number 2, big mistake, chasing pumps and soreness. Now, soreness isn't directly correlated to muscle damage all the time, but if you're chasing soreness, you're going to be caught doing too much volume to ensure that you're sore, which means in that process, you're accumulating a ton of muscle damage. A lot of people are still under the impression in 2023 that you have to break the muscle down to build it back stronger. That is not how it occurs. In fact, it's the complete opposite. The more you break the muscle down, the process of repairing that muscle must occur first before the process of adding more contractile tissue, i.e. muscle fibers, occurs, which means the degree to which you damage the muscle is directly, essentially inversely related to the degree to which you can build more muscle on top. Because if you're hitting push, pull, legs, but you absolutely annihilate your push day, your chest is demolished, it's accumulated tons of muscle damage and central fatigue, well, by the time you hit the next push day, you may have just recovered just in time to do the exact same fucking output. That could be a bit of an issue. Whereas if you stimulated the chest for growth, minimize damage in that process, you heal 2 days later, then you've got a whole 1 to 2 days worth of actual growth that your body's using all the extra resources to pack on a tiny bit more contractile tissue on the chest. Next time you hit it, you're fresh, you're stronger, you're seeing progressive overload, and the results are coming in a lot faster. So soreness, chasing that, bad idea. More muscle damage is likely to occur. Chasing pumps by doing high rep sets, drop sets, but taking none of those to failure. A lot of people think that when the muscle starts burning a little bit, that's failure, but it's not. That's just metabolic stress. The accumulation of metabolites in your blood in that particular region is causing that burn effect, and that burn could get in the way of you understanding and perceiving what true failure looks like in that case. And so metabolic stress, muscle damage, neither of these have been proven to be directly correlated to hypertrophy. In some cases, as in the case of muscle damage, it has been proven the opposite. So we need to make sure that we understand the fix here, which is seeking the one thing, mechanical tension, the one thing that has been proven to drive hypertrophy time and time again, mechanical tension, and we want to do this somewhere between 5 and 12 rep range, okay? Going below 5 reps probably doesn't make much sense. You're probably not going to achieve all the mechanical tension you could out of a single set, but going above 12 reps, there's certainly cases for both, and that can be totally fine. There's going to be some cases where on an isolation movement, doing 5 to 10 reps, let's say, or 5 to 8 reps on a bicep curl, maybe it starts tearing up your joints. On a tricep pushdown, I know for me, it starts to tear my joints up a little bit, my elbow and all of that, probably from doing all the other bullshit all the years prior. But the point is there's going to be a case where going above these reps makes sense. But the majority of the time, especially in your compound lifts, you want to achieve somewhere in close proximity to failure within a 5 to 12 rep range. Now, the cool thing is, if you do this properly, you push with that intensity, you're going to get a pretty sick pump anyways. That's just a good byproduct. But chasing the pump will typically mean sacrifice of some of this. Whereas if you achieve and chase this, then you can get this as a benefit, and you'll probably be sore as well to some degree in many cases. Just understand mechanical tension is the primary driver, and that's what you're aiming to do. Every set needs to be quality. Number 3, thinking that there are required exercises. You need the squat or else you won't get big legs, as a Tom Platz video might say, or many other bodybuilders. You need to do a bench press or else you won't get a big chest. You need to do a deadlift or else you won't get a big back. These are old school concepts because, well, number 1, there weren't that many machines. There was no study on machines. It kind of makes sense as to why you might come to that conclusion, because for some biomechanics, for some people's anatomical structure, a squat might be the most beneficial exercise you can do. Not to mention, if you prefer doing it, then it's for sure the most optimal exercise you can do. But in many cases, maybe the squat starts messing your back up, starts messing with your knees, and a machine hack squat might feel a lot better for you. You might get the stimulus a lot more. And on top of that, it's been clearly shown now that having more external stability of an exercise, i.e. a machine versus a free weight movement with a dumbbell or barbell where you need to externally stabilize the load yourself, has been shown to reduce fatigue and cause less interference with the signal that we are seeking here. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. There may be many cases where ditching the deadlift altogether, which I did a little while ago, I might reintroduce it, but with an extremely low volume. But ditching the deadlift could be something you might want to consider if you want more back hypertrophy. You want to build a wider back? Maybe ditch the deadlift, start doing some more rows, start doing some more pull downs instead. Now you're going to minimize fatigue tremendously, because what's more fatiguing than a deadlift? I don't think much is. You're going to minimize your fatigue, you're going to improve your recovery, and you're able to stimulate the parts of the back that actually grow and develop to create whatever sort of back development you're seeking. Stable variations is the fix here. Look towards including as many stable variations as you can that work as well, or in some cases, if better, than some of these free weight exercises. A lot of people just don't like the bench press flat out, don't ever do it. They feel all shoulders and tricep. And so they feel it better on a hoist machine, or they feel it better on a hammer strength, flat press, or whatever. If that's the case, don't think you're leaving gains on the table by doing everything around the squat, bench, and dead. Not only that, but it might lead to just more fatigue, impeding recovery, and could even lead to injuries. As to be quite honest, all the injuries that I've achieved, the worst injuries that I've gone through, occurred from basically the squat for the most part. My body is just not really that great for squatting, but I loved the squat so much. And also mainly because I thought if I get a big squat, I got a huge, massive set of quads. Reality is it doesn't have to be that way. I came from an old school background, tons of volume, hitting legs twice a week, hitting legs on Monday, back squats, and then on Thursday, front squats, while my quads were still sore. Again, this is the sort of old school mentality that I came from, but we have to understand more is not better. The big lifts are not better. In a lot of cases, they may be worse. Number 4, bad form and using momentum. So it's as simple as this. You use any momentum on any lift, including things like the squat, any leg exercise, biceps, anything. You're using momentum on these, that is qualified as bad form. The fix is simple. 2 to 3 second eccentric. I don't need to say much more than this. 2 to 3 second eccentrics with a paused rep. So on the case of a bench press, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, pause. press. The reason you want to pause on a hack squat, 1, 2, all right, you get it all the way down, 3 seconds, it could be more, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, but the key is pause at the bottom, explode at the top. You have now standardized your form so you can actually be sure that the progress you're making, the progressive overload you're seeing is in fact directly correlated to adaptation and not due to you breaking form down slightly over time. I've been there a billion times and you might be there right now. You're thinking you're benching more. Let me just get this weight up. You bounce on the chest, you bounce even more to try to get it up. You're gonna get injured. You're not building any muscle from that whatsoever. You're straining ligaments, you're straining tendons. That's about all you're doing. And you're heading towards guaranteed injury because you can only sustain doing that for so long. The load gets so heavy, boom, you're gonna have to restart and reset the form anyways. Until you get to this point, might as well just start here right now. 2 to 3 second eccentric plus pauses on every single exercise if your goal is hypertrophy. Next, you'll even notice for powerlifters, by the way, there's a reason their form has to be perfect. Powerlifter's not allowed to bounce on a squat. A powerlifter can't bounce on a bench press. Next, short interset rest times. Easy fix here, taking 2 to 3 minutes between isolation exercises because you are still pushing those very close to failure, and 3 to 5 minutes on compound exercises. It's as simple as this. You do a set of hack squats, okay? So you take a set of hack squats to a 3 second eccentric, hold at the bottom, explode at the top. You take that all the way to failure within a 5 to 8 rep range. Tell me you are not looking forward to at least a 3-minute break. You are. And in fact, by the third minute, you're like, fuck, another 2 minutes should be good because you're dying, because it's extremely taxing on the body. It's extremely fatiguing to the nervous system, to the muscular system. You need to recover. If you feel like you're sitting around all day long waiting for 2 minutes between an exercise, there may be a chance you aren't pushing with a high enough intensity. It has been shown that if you cut rest times down more and more and more, then yes, you're going to need more volume because you are now getting in the way of the mechanical tension required on a per set basis to get more out of less. So taking these short rest times, 60 to 90 seconds, just means you got to do more volume, which means that you're going to end up probably accumulating more fatigue muscle damage for a less impactful stimulus over time. Something to keep in mind, this comes from the whole too much or more is better approach. Now keep in mind, number 10 is probably the one done the most. Okay, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you a cool free resource to help you fix that immediately. Number 6, not prioritizing properly. I only started doing this 2 years ago. Let me tell you what I mean. For me, I've always known my calves are actually not bad, believe it or not. But I've always known, in comparison to my legs, I never liked that they were still quite a bit behind. So what did I do? Well, I hit legs and I just made sure to hit calves. That was it. I hit calves after I toasted my quads, toasted my hams, toasted my glutes. And I wondered why my calves would never grow. And a lot of people do this and they think, oh, I just got stubborn calves. Okay, fast forward to 2 years ago. What did I start doing? I started doing calves at the beginning of my workout. Now, I was supersetting it with my squats, with my squat pattern to start the workout. But because I did it fresh and I made sure I never skipped it as a result of that as well, guess what? They started growing. Guess what I'm doing now? I'm hitting calves first at the beginning of a back day. So I have basically no fatigue in that session. I feel fresh. And I go and absolutely destroy my calves to start the workout. Well, I can tell you it's been about 3 weeks of doing this, and I'm already noticing my calves have grown. That's how insane this is, and how classic is it that people don't do this. Another example, my arms could be better. Now, one thing for sure is having an arm day. I would typically add that in at some cases, but sometimes I didn't. I would do a push-pull leg. Okay, fine. The problem is that means you're hitting triceps after you've toasted and spent all these resources and energy. You're fatigued after chest and shoulders. You're hitting biceps after hitting a massive muscle like the back, muscles like from the back. You're gassed out, no wonder you're not getting the maximum stimulus. Understand what your priorities are and start structuring and altering your split around them. That's the fix. Just begin sessions with your weak points. If you got a push day and you had no other place to put it, start with biceps on push day. Start with triceps on back day. Or put an entire arm day into your split. Alter the split if you have to, like I did. An entire arm day dedicated to coming in fresh, blasting bis, blasting tris. Start with calves on your leg workout. Okay, there's plenty of other ones. You need lateral delt, and you're doing a shoulders and arms day, but you're starting with presses first. No, start with the side delt. Whatever it is, you need to start to mix all this around and put it into your split in a way that allows you to develop the weak points as effectively as possible, which means always typically not only done at the beginning of the session, but managing rest days around them as well. I have a rest day right before the arm day. I have a rest day right before the chest day because those are the two main priorities. So I can ensure that I'm extra recovered, extra fresh when it comes down to hitting those muscles. Hope that gives you a better idea. Number 7, this has to be the dumbest of all the mistakes, and that is testing your 1 rep max. Going into the gym, oh, big chest day today, I'm gonna start by seeing what I can hit on the bench. Let me go for that 315 1 rep. Let me go for that 405 1 rep. Whatever it is people are doing, this has to be the dumbest because not only are you basically getting zero stimulus, you're also getting maximum fatigue. So the stimulus to fatigue ratio is abysmal, poor, terrible. Your form is probably garbage as a result, okay? So you're essentially hitting multiple mistakes here just from this one mistake. On top of that, your risk of injury is the highest on a 1 rep max. Look at on YouTube the craziest injuries that have occurred in sort of the bodybuilding, powerlifting scene. It's always 1 rep maxes. In fact, a lot of the fatal mistakes, people literally dying, has occurred from people trying these stupid 1 rep max things in their workouts. It does nothing for you. It's just an ego thing. It makes you think that you're seeing progress because, yo, I'm stronger now. It actually doesn't do much. It's probably more of a neural adaptation, if anything, which doesn't translate to any amount of worthwhile mechanical tension, massive amounts of fatigue, central, peripheral, massive risk of injury. It's just dumb. So I'm going to give you the fix for this. Don't fucking do it. How about that? Just stop doing it. Remember, 5 to 12 for the most part. You can go above that. It makes sense. Pushing close to failure. This is not the way to go about it. And for the cherry on top of that, not a single person around you in the gym or when you post it on social media, not a single, listen, not one person cares about how much you're lifting. So what's the point? Next, changing programs too often. Literally, for example, you're going in today's chest day. Oh, what am I going to do? You watch a chest day video of your favorite bodybuilder. They just dropped it. You're watching a chest day of Chris Bumstead, he just dropped it, and you're just doing that workout today. And then next day, oh, my back doesn't feel sore anymore. I'm going to hit back. So you maybe change your workouts like that. So it's completely spontaneous. It's completely how you feel. It's completely whatever. Again, you can see you can see results from doing all these mistakes. Clearly, I saw results throughout my time of doing a lot of these mistakes. You just could see 10 times better results, reduce risk of injury, and guarantee that you get a way better physique that's way healthier in the long term, right? That's the point of this. Changing the program too often is just not getting the most out of your time in the gym. What you want to do is you want to periodize your program. Now, that's the problem. People think of periodization, they kind of get a little pushed away from it because they think it's this complex thing. You need to know macrocycles, mesocycles, microcycles. No, you just need a plan. And that plan should be somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks, okay, at a time before you switch and go into the next one. And the reason for that is because you want your body to adapt to the stimuli, to the new exercises that you've introduced, give yourself time to progressively overload through them and actually cause a hypertrophy stimulus and give it enough time for hypertrophy adaptations to occur. Before you're switching things up, you're getting sore because of all the novel stimuli from switching up exercises and rep schemes and all this stuff at once. It's just not a good idea. Just have training blocks that are between 6 and 12 weeks at a time. Optimize around you. Don't forget the priority principle, and then take it from there. Next, trying to beat the logbook every time. This is another thing that it's very easy to fall for. People think that progressive overload is how you build muscle. It is the driver. You have to add weight to the bar every week. You have to improve every single week or else it was a wasted workout, but that's not the case. And by the way, I'm talking to my younger self here because that's what he thought, and he would get injured all the time, form starts breaking down, etc. Understand this. This is how we fix this. Progressive overload is feedback. So we need to push to that high intensity, right? Close to failure for X amount of sets. We need to do everything right outside of the gym as well. When we come into the gym the next time, all we're trying to do is push as hard as we did last time. You're tracking, you're seeing, okay, progressive overload did occur. You're not chasing progressive overload at the expense of anything else. You are seeing if progressive overload occurred by pushing to the same intensity, all right? Could you add 5 pounds this time? Did you do an extra rep or 2? That is progressive overload. It's simply feedback to see if adaptation is occurring. If you ditch all that and go with a numbers-focused mentality first, you start to sacrifice the other things and you start to beat yourself up thinking that there's no adaptation occurring because I didn't increase my weight this time. Whereas very much so, adaptation may take an extra week to occur and then you progressively overload the next time. But we need to reframe the mentality around progressive overload. So stop thinking that you need to beat the logbook every time and get numbers focused only. The numbers are simply feedback for what is occurring. Now, the last one, number 10, is the most common mistake of all of them. okay? And it probably holds you back the most, and that is simply not tracking your workouts. Now, simple fix for this, okay? Before I talk about that, people will say, I can just remember my weights. Oh, you don't need to track. That's correct. You don't need to track. You don't need to follow any of these things. You don't need to. By all means, you don't need to. But it's probably in your best interest if you want to maximize the physique you build naturally, keep yourself in the gym, keep yourself healthy, feeling good, performing good. If you want to do all those things, then you should be doing this. In fact, then you need to do this. But if you don't care much about those things, then sure, you don't need to do any of that. People will say that in tracking, oh, I just remember what I did. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's as simple as that. The literal rebuttal is, no, I do. I do remember. That's the rebuttal. There's zero chance you remember. You don't even remember what you had for dinner or lunch that one time you went out 3 weeks ago. You're trying to remember a lift from every single week, back to back to back to back. You won't remember the entire lift you did in one session, the amount of what you did, the reps, and the RIR. How are you going to remember all three of those? You won't even remember that for 2 sets in a row, almost in many cases. The simple fix in 2023, luckily, we don't need a pen and paper at the gym. Okay, I dreaded that when I was younger. I didn't want to be that guy. Okay, whatever. I was young, I was immature, but still, it's another thing you got to bring, another inconvenience, right? Well, in the case of the modern age, we have workout tracking apps that take care of all of that for you. Reps, sets, notes for the sessions, all these things that you would never, ever in a million years remember for more than a week. Keep logs of those things with the free tracker. Now, I actually have a free complete physique tracking system that goes over how to track your workouts effectively and other daily things to track in a very easy, probably the easiest way to use, because I've actually developed the system and use it myself. You can go ahead and check out and grab yours for free in the link in the description. And one last thing, if you are currently making at least 2 of these mistakes, especially more, and there's any confusion whatsoever where to go from here, you want to periodize, have a proper plan, you want to put everything in place so you're doing the right volume with the right intensity, you want to make sure that the intensity is right with the right form, you want to make sure there's no momentum, you want to make sure you're progressing properly, tracking the progressive overload correctly, you want to make sure that you are taking the right rest times in between, you want to make sure that you're not just accumulating muscle damage and metabolic fatigue, all these factors. If you truly want to instantly implement a way that will ensure all of this is fixed immediately, so you're mind blown. You're going to see incredible results going forward. Basically, over the next coming weeks, you're going to start noticing the difference of training this way, training properly. I have something special that I want to offer, and that is what I'm calling Elite Physique. If you want monthly training programmed for you by me, including coaching directly by me, an app to track all of this stuff perfectly accurately, see the progressive overload, see the personal bests, make session comments that I can see and coming back on, all this type of stuff. In other words, solve your training problems instantly, right away, for free. Then here's the cool thing. You can try it out for 7 days. Okay, so it's a 7-day trial. Link is in the description below. Check it out. Go through a couple workouts. See how you feel knowing that all of this is on point. Having me in your corner, having a community at the same time, all of that stuff. This is how we can solve all of this. It's my way of ensuring you don't take 5 to 10 years of trial and error like me going forward in your training. Make sure to subscribe, as I'm going to keep bringing more content. And as always, comment below any thoughts, comments, feedback. I'd be happy to see them and answer them. And any topics of videos you want me to cover going forward as well. I'm happy to add them to the queue, as I do see all the comments and take them very seriously. If I see something that is commonly requested over and over again, then for sure that starts to increase on the priority list, all right? Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. As always, really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. I'm out.